and you've seen me grow up. And I don't know exactly how much you all remember, but I did pretty okay in high school and everything. I was a speech and debate state champion. I was captain and a consistent state finalist in swimming, national AP scholar, and I worked hard for that, but I also have to admit that a decent amount of that came pretty naturally. To the annoyance of some people, I'm sure. But I was proud of those high school successes, and I wanted to get a chance to update everyone who was so supportive during all of that on where I am now and how things have gone since then. So I wrote those successes into my dream school, Georgetown, where I'm in the School of Foreign Service, studying mostly topics related to international development. I was also able to walk onto the swim team. So when I got to school, I was at my dream school doing swimming Division I, which was a dream come true. And so everything looked like I was set for an amazing, easy, great 4 years. And that was not the case. Georgetown is really hard. I went from being one of the top in my high school without too much struggle to being surrounded by people that were just as smart, smarter in a lot of cases. Went to more competitive high schools than me, had opportunities that I never had, and I was, almost overnight I went from someone who never really struggled that much to drowning and struggling to stay in the middle of the pack. I was working like I've never had to work before, and I just wasn't doing well. My grades were slipping. I was swimming 20 hours a week because D1 swimming is super hard, but I was struggling to swim as fast as I was when I was 15, and I got really dejected. I stopped going to some classes, spent a lot of time in my room, and finished freshman year with a pretty low GPA that I think disqualified me from, and I knew after my freshman year disqualified me from graduating with honors. So I came back home after freshman year to reflect, try to figure out really what I wanted to do and how I wanted to get there. And I didn't really come to any major conclusions until I was on the way back from my grandparents' house on my mom's side, August after my freshman year. And every time I make that drive, I stop in Findlay, Oklahoma, to talk to relatives, like my grandpa. And a lot of you who knew him know he's like one of the best people in the world. But he was also an incredibly talented person, which is not something everyone knows. He left his boarding school at 15 years old to go fight in World War II all throughout the Pacific Theater. And this was a guy who's half my size. I can't even imagine. Then he came back, got a degree without ever finishing high school, and moved to Shiprock, New Mexico with my grandma to teach on a reservation high school, Navajo reservation. And he was just something else. There, I can't imagine how many lives he impacted. My dad used to always tell me that people would come to him for help, and
I need to lean on you.
if they say they couldn't make ends meet, struggling, whatever, and he would help them almost no matter what. And my dad used to say that my grandma would, lightly give him a hard time for it, saying, you're never gonna see that money again. But my papa would just say, yes, I will. Even if they couldn't repay him monetarily, they'd repay him somehow. food, favors, whatever, he would see it. And he realized that it wasn't about like what he had, it was about how generous he was and what he did with what he had. And so while looking at his tombstone and talking to him, I had my epiphany and I realized it wasn't about what I did, how I got there. It was about why I did it. And that's stuck with me since then. I mean, looking at where Benny came from, he shouldn't have gotten where he got. He went from having nothing. He was born before Indians were even citizens. He had no opportunities and had lived an amazing life. I, conversely, have limitless opportunities compared to him. But most people don't. And that's why I want to work in the field that I work in, want to work in international development. Half the world's population doesn't have access to clean water, food, dies from easily preventable diseases, live on less than $2 a day. And that just makes me think about all of the potential out there, all the people that are that have abilities to make a difference that aren't getting those chances. And I mean, that's why I decided to realize that why I want to work in that field. And having that realization that it was about that really helped me kind of do a 180. My sophomore year, I raised my GPA a lot. I probably still won't graduate with honors, but I have a respectable GPA. Become since more of a leader on campus. Unfortunately, life happens and I had to quit swimming this year. But I also was on Dean's List those semesters and just turned everything around. And I owe so much of where I got and why I got there to the role models and the people that I had in my life. Largely my grandpa, but also I got that growing up in this church. Like I said, I grew up around a lot of you, people like Reverend Neil, Chief Haney, Harold, Mary, the list goes on and on of these amazing people that had success in their own lives, but at the end of the day, what made them people to me was that they were good people. And so I'm going into my last year. I don't know exactly what I'm doing after. I don't know exactly what the future holds. But I feel fairly confident in whatever task I take that if I end up a good person, half as good a man as my grandpa, then I had a really good life. And so I want to thank you all for